Okay, if you guys remember previously, yesterday, we have already done all these things, okay? And it was related to the wing wall and then abutment, okay? Because we are supposed to just determine or prepare the abstract of materials for a bridge. Okay, so these things, you can say the abutment and wing walls, these are just related to bridges or maybe culverts, okay? Now, in the same session, we will be just determining the abstract of quantities, you can say, for the same bridge section. Okay, only the section, and then these dimensions, drawings are just known over here, okay? And as you can see, we are asked to estimate the cost. Okay, remember, the cost estimation is just required for the same bridge work. And as you can see, it is just 6 meters span, okay? And one span only. And the bearings, those are 45. And if you see, what do you mean by bearings? Bearing is actually something, let's say if I have, say, let's say this is one apartment, okay? And here we have another apartment. You guys must be familiar with this. And let's say if I have girder, the girder can be just like in this form. If you see girder, maybe beam, etc. Okay. So this green color rectangle represents actually the girder. Now, what do you mean by the bearing? Bearing is actually just this overlap. You can see this overlap at the end. So this is known by the bearing, okay? You can say this portion, this is actually bearing, okay? This extension to one side and another side. So this must be, you can say 45 centimeters. I hope you guys understand the real meaning of the bearing now. So this bearing should be taken as 45 centimeters, and then steel for different elements. You can say mild steel. In beam, that is 2.5%. For slab, that is 1%. And for the post or maybe for the handrails, okay, which is actually something like this one, okay, on both ends. That is just only 1%. So we'll be just preparing the abstract of cost for the same bridge work. Is there any question? So we can move forward. And I'll be just using, of course, the previous one table, okay, just the same table. We have already used this for a small project, if you remember, for a one-room project, okay. Again, it is the same thing, the number description, serial number description, number, length, breadth, height, and then quantity. We will be also including the unit, and then, of course, the remarks for detailing if there is any need, okay. So let's say if I have, let me just remove, or let me just say merge and center, and I'll say the abstract of cost of our bridge, that is 6 meters span. Okay, very simple. Now, again, I'm not gonna put all those things over here, serial number, because I have already frozen the top row. Okay, so it means the first column represents the serial number. Now, in serial number, I'll say only one. Okay, this is the first item which we gonna calculate. Now, as you can see, let me just jump into the AutoCAD again. This is the same section. Okay. Now, what I'm gonna calculate is actually to determine the. As you can see, this is just the RCC work. Okay. Everywhere you see RCC work in this section. Okay. I have not just included the steel rebars. Okay, in the same section, because this drawing, I just prepared this drawing very quickly in short time. So it was a little bit complicated to include all those things. You can say maybe some rebars were here like that, okay? So no, never mind it. Now, I will say, let me just calculate the RCC work, which is actually 124. Okay, we have already discussed this yesterday, if you guys remember it, okay? 124, and then I'll say I'm not including, it means excluding the steel work, maybe steel fixing, okay? And let's say binding. And however, in comma, I'll include centering. Okay, so this is the description. Acha, I will just write the text so we can see it in one cell, okay? Now, a number, as you can see in the diagram, we have only 3 T beams. You can see it, okay? So it means a number, the T beam can be like you can say 3 in numbers. Okay. And over here, I'm going to include one another thing, which is I will say that the T-beam, let me just say T-beam, and I will only take the ribs. Okay, for T-beam. And in the next row, I will say T-beam, and then I will say the fillets portion. So a rib, by rib, I mean just this rectangular portion. Okay, if I can draw a rectangle, you can say. So this rectangular portion, this is known just by the rib. Okay, and here, as you can see, we have fillet of 15 by 15 centimeters. So first, I'm going to calculate the ribs, and then we will actually look into this thing. Okay. Now, in number, these are going to be 3. Okay, so in Excel, I'm going to put 3. Okay. Now, the length should be 6.9. How 6.9? Okay, let me just jump again. As you can see, the span is just 6 meters. Now, there is bearing to both sides, which is 45 centimeters. It means 45 plus 45, okay, which is 90 centimeters. Now, 6 meters and 90 centimeters means 6.5, 6.9 meters. Very simple. Okay, you can confirm this in the same drawing by the dimensions. Let me just say, if you can see, these two lines are maybe these two, and then these two, actually, these are you can say the girders are maybe T-beams. Okay, so you can just confirm their length. Okay, from this point till this point, it should be, you can say, 690 centimeters, which is actually 6.9 meters. Very simple. And graphically, if you are not that good, okay, with drawings, let me say if this is one girder, and here we have, let's say, I'm gonna just make it a little bit, let's say, D space and maybe 90, okay, and then maybe let's say 300. Okay, I'm just gonna draw this for you guys so you can understand it. Now the span is actually 6. Okay, from this point till there, so it means 600. Now let me just take its mirror. Okay, I'm gonna take its mirror, and as you can see now, okay, I'm gonna remove this. Now we have a girder. Okay, let me just draw the girder, and the girder is actually from this point till this point, you can say, like this. Okay, it is of course not at edge, maybe like that. Okay, and even I'm gonna just take its rough copies, maybe like this. Okay, so these three are girders. Now, as you can see, the span that is actually from this point till this point, it is a top view, you can say. Okay, it is 600. Now here we have bearing, which is actually 45 centimeters one side and 45 centimeter for another side. Is it clear now? Okay, so 45 plus 45, that is 90 centimeters, and then 600 centimeters, which becomes actually 690 centimeters, and that's of course 6.9. Okay, I think it's clear now. Now, what should be the width? Of course, we can just confirm that from the drawings. You can see it over here. Okay, it is 35 centimeters. Okay, so 0.35 meters. Now the height of the rib, let's just see what's the height of the rib. It is from this point till that point. So 75 can be taken over here. Okay, so 0.75. I'm just converting all the videos, okay, into meters, so we can do it very quickly. Okay, I'm going to copy the formula and paste it over here, and you can confirm it by double click, and that's okay. Now this is going to be in CFT. Now again, the T-beams fillets. Now fillets must be actually, as you can see, the T-beams are 3, but fillets are going to be 6, because 2 fillets for 1 beam. Okay, so 3 twos are, which means 6 fillets. Okay, like 1, 2, and 2 were here, and then 2 were here. It becomes actually 6. Okay, so in number, I'll say 6. Okay, there is a chart. Let me just open. Cubic meters, sir. Oh, yes, yes, very good. Thank you so much. As you can see, the dimensions, The length, breadth, height, these are actually in cubic meters. Very good. Thank you. So I'm gonna write the unit is cubic meter, okay? And now again, also 6.9 dead in remass, you can just say maybe like 6 meters, and we will add 0.45 and 0.45 for one side and the other side, of course. The length for the T-beams fillet is going to be the same, because this is just, of course, running along the length, okay? Very simple. However, the breadth and height, okay, now the breadth and height, this is actually the cross-sectional area. So it means we have to put cross-sectional area in the same cell, maybe. You can say we're here. I can even merge this, no problem. Now, as you can see, the fillet, it is just triangular, which means it is 15 times 15. And if you consider this is a square or maybe rectangle like this, okay, like this one. So they have actually mentioned the dimension. 15 by 15 is actually the height and then the width. So 15 times 15 divided by 2, that's going to be the area in cross section. It is just a right angle triangle, okay? So 15 times 15 and divided by 2. Very simple. So I can even say like maybe 15 and then multiply that with 15, okay? And you can actually divide this by 2 if you want. And this is going to be the area. Now multiply these 3 columns like maybe equal, and we will actually multiply this with this and with actually that one, and that is something. Now another thing which is actually 15 centimeters, okay, so we have to convert that into meters, which is 0.15 now this is our answer, and this is going to be in cubic meters. Very simple. So RCC for the beams or maybe for these girders is just done. Now we will actually just consider the RCC slab maybe, okay, which is 1 to 4 again, and 1% steel were there. So let's consider this slab, okay, you can say this one. Now for the same slab, I can write some description, maybe RCC slab 1 to 4. You can also mention thickness over here, but does not matter. In number, it should be only 1 because it is just a single bridge. It means this slab is going to be only 1 over here. Length is going to be the same because it's just running along the same thing, which is, let me just draw a rectangle so you guys can see it in the plan, okay? The slab can be from this point till this point, okay? It means up to the girders or maybe the T-beams end. So the length is going to be the same for the slab as well. Okay. Now the weight of the slab, it can be actually 7.7. How? It's also shown in the diagram. You can see it. Okay. Look at this. Okay. The top dimension. This is 770. Okay, which means 7.7 meters. Okay. And this is because the slab is just up to this point. If you extend this line like that, okay, and on the right hand side as well. So this is now the slab, which is actually 770 in length. I mean in width maybe. Okay, no problem. Now what should be the height of the slab? It should be 20 centimeters. It's just mentioned over here. You can see it. It's 20. So we're gonna put 0.20. We can just copy the formula and paste it over here so we can have the quantity in cubic meters. The railing posts, those are also, if you see, these are concrete. You can see these things. Okay, let me just draw a rectangle so you guys can see it clearly from that point till this point. This green rectangle actually represents the railing posts. These are RCC, so we're going to calculate them. Now, the railing posts should be actually, you can see its width, which is 15 centimeters. It means these are, you can say, square. So 15 times 15 can be the cross-sectional area. And then we will take its height, which is actually, if you see, that is 120. And of course, 20 over here if you consider this as well. So 120 plus 20, this can be taken. If you just ignore this 20, and these can be actually taken with curve as well. So this is going to be very simple. Now, the railing post, these can be actually, if you see, these are squares. So it means we can even consider the intervals of maybe 2 meters or maybe 1 meter. So we will just divide the total distance by or maybe the total span, or maybe just the span with even the bearing, okay, by the interval. So we can have actually the number of posts, okay. It means, let me just say, okay, if we have, let's say 1 meter interval, okay, let's say if the post is just after each meter, then we can have actually 6 posts on one side and 6 on the other side, okay. You can just say like maybe if I'm not wrong, let me just say if we have the posts from this point like this, and let me just draw it, okay, if I can draw it, which is 15 by 15 like that. And if we have maybe a post over here, and let me just take its copies so you guys can see it, okay, and the arrays maybe. And in the array, let me just say the number of items, if they are 6 approximately, I'll take just approximately, okay, we're here. So if you see the distance between two can be actually 1 meter, it means 6 posts on one side and 6 posts on the other side. What do you say? It means the number of posts can be actually 12. Let me just say railing posts. Now in number, those are 12, and the length and width, those are 15 by 15. So I can say 0.15 for the length, and for the width or maybe breadth, that is 0.15 again. The height can be taken actually, let's say, that is, if you take it with the same curbstone, then it can be 120 plus 20. Okay, it becomes actually 140. However, if you skip this area, like maybe if you extend the curbstone up to this point, then it can be only 120. Okay, so let's just say if I can just delete the previous one, like maybe this, okay, let me just remove this one. So it can even be in this form, okay. So let's just say if we are taking it without the curbstone, so I can say 120 can be the height, okay. So I can put 1.20, and I can just drag the formula to the down one row,
ये
okay.
रनिंग पोस्ट क्या होता है?
What?
रनिंग पोस्ट
जी जी।
ये क्या होता है सर?
अल्लाह के बंदे, ये ब्रिज पे कभी आपने पैदल वॉक किया है?
जी सर।
अच्छा, तो ब्रिज के दोनों किनारों पे सेफ्टी के लिए वो रेलिंग होते हैं ना, जिस तरह हम स्टेयर केस में हैंड रेल रखते हैं,
हाँ सही है सर।
वो कंक्रीट के बने होते हैं अक्सर। वही चीज है, ठीक है। मतलब सेफ्टी के लिए अगर कोई गाड़ी खराब हो जाता है, आउट ऑफ कंट्रोल हो जाता है, तो फिर ब्रिज से नहीं गिरते वो गाड़ी फिर।
ठीक है सर।
अच्छा, अच्छा, again, we have, okay, so that's done, can be in cubic meter, which is 0.32 and 4. One another thing, which is actually this thing, okay, curve stone. Let me just hatch it so you guys can see it better. This area, and which is actually concrete. This area, we will just take its cross-sectional area, and then we will multiply it with the length, okay? And the length should be actually the same length as the T-beam's length, okay? So I'm gonna say the curve. So curve are 2 in number, because we have one this side to this side and another one to the other side. You can see it over here, okay? And if you see, we have already just extended this to the other side. So it means 2 a number can be taken, 2. Now, what should be the length? Of course, 6.9, because the curved stone can be run actually along the length, or maybe along the span, okay? So this can be 6.90 now. Now, what should be its width, and then what should be its height? The height is clear. If you see, it is only 20 centimeters. So I can put 20 centimeter over here in the height, which is 0.20. Now, the width can be taken. which is actually maybe 35 centimeters. If I'm not wrong, so we can confirm it, okay? From the dimensions and up to this point, it is just 35, okay? We are actually ignoring this chamber or maybe some fillet conditions, okay? Because they are constructed and then they are pressed with the float maybe, okay? So that's why they can be taken in the cross-sectional area. So the length actually, if you see, this is 15, okay? And this portion is actually 20, and which becomes actually 35. Okay, you can see it. It is 20 by 20, but this 20 is actually up to this point. Okay. However, we have 15 centimeters is the post that can be added. You can see it, which becomes actually 35 centimeters. Okay. So you can say 0.35. We can drag the formula, and of course, this should be in cubic meter. The RCC work is been actually calculated. If you see, there is nothing remaining in the RCC work. So I can add them, okay, all, you can say, okay, all these things with the auto sum maybe, which is 17.8, blah, 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 okay, maybe in cubic meters. So this is 17 cubic meters RCC work. I can just remove those above because there's just a lot of text were there. So now you have to actually mention these things, okay, like maybe total RCC work, which is 124. Is there any question now?
सर ये फ्लैट का एरिया हमने स्क्वायर लिया है या ट्रायंगल?
इस चीज का फिलेट का
यस यस
फिलेट
सर।
फिलेट का हमने ट्रायंगुलर दिया है ना, ये वाला ये पोर्शन, क्योंकि ये टी बीम है।
यस सर।
यहाँ पे डायमेंशन बेशक इन्होंने 15 बाई 15 जो कि स्क्वायर बनता है, लेकिन हमने तो ट्राइंगल कैलकुलेट कर देना है, 15 बाई 15 डिवाइड बाई 2 कर देना होगा ना। Another thing which is actually I think we have something remaining over there. That is maybe in the wearing coat. You see, we have wearing coat over here. Like maybe let me just color this so you guys can see it. Maybe this wearing coat, which is actually hedged, maybe the red one. This wearing coat is also remaining. But I'm not adding this with these things because in wearing coat, we may have the concrete like maybe bituminous concrete. All these things, okay, you can say these five things, these are cement concrete, okay, made of cement concrete, and the wearing course can be actually bituminous concrete. So I'm gonna say number two, and that is RCC work, not RCC, of course. I will just say like maybe wearing coat. The ratio can be different, okay? Let's say this is 1 to 4 again. In number, it should be 1 only. The length should be again 6.9. What do you say? Because it is the same thing, okay? If you consider the diagram, if you see. However, the width can be little bit changed. It is also given over there, okay? Little bit above. It is 700. You see it? It's 700. So the width is just 700. I can type only 7 over there. And now the height, it's also shown over there. If you see the wearing course, it's not mentioned in the maybe the dimensions are not given. However, I'm gonna just confirm it over here from the dimensions such as linear, and that is 10 centimeters. Very simple. Okay, so 0.10 only. I can copy the formula and paste it over here, and this is 4.83 cubic meter.
सर asphalt में बिटुमेन भी होता है और क्रश भी होता है, तो इस वजह से ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि कैलकुलेशन इस तरह होगा या कुछ चेंज है इसमें?
नहीं नहीं, असल में क्या होता है, मैं जरा आपको समझाऊं। स्पार्ट को ना हम जब डिमांड करते हैं किसी रोड के लिए, तो हम इन टर्म्स ऑफ क्यूबिक मीटर डिमांड करते हैं, ठीक है। एक तो ये बात हो गई। फिर ये जो इसका रेशो डिजाइन किया जाता है ना, तो रेशो के बेस पे आप फिर एनालिसिस करते हैं, ठीक है। अच्छा, स्पार्ट अक्सर ये भी होता है कि हम मन टन वगैरह में इसको डिमांड करते हैं। चलो मैं कह लूँ कि भाई 100 टन का स्पार्ट चाहिए, ठीक है। तो 100 टन का स्पार्ट जो है, ये फिर हम उस सीन या फिर उस तरह कैलकुलेट करेंगे जिस तरह हम स्टील वेट कैलकुलेट करते हैं। अब ज़रा इसको कंसिडर करें, यहाँ पे क्या चीज़ है। मैं ज़रा कर लूँ कि भाई एक सेकंड, मैं यहाँ पे लिख लूँ अगर asphalt वेट मैं लिख लूँ, ठीक है। तो हम वेट के हिसाब से फिर उस चीज़ को देख लेते, और फिर हम कहते हैं कि भाई यहाँ पे अगर मैं फार्मूला लिख लूँ, ठीक है, इक्वल, फिर मैं इस चीज़ को लूँगा और asphalt का जो अपना यूनिट वेट है उसके साथ मल्टीप्लाई करूँगा। अब यूनिट वेट लेट से 23 and 30 kg है पर क्यूबिक मीटर। तो ये टू
जी सर।
थाउजेंड 330 kgs पर क्यूबिक मीटर, ये डिफरेंट हो सकता है, डिज़ाइन पे बेशक डिपेंड करता है। ये आप स्पेसिफिकेशन से देख लेना होगा आपको इन चीज़ों को फिर।
जी सर।
Okay,
ठीक है।
and even if it's mentioned on the drawing, in the drawing, that what type of bituminous course is this? Okay, it can be even sheet spot, can be premix. Okay, so those things then depend. Okay, you have to actually study the specifications then, and according to those specifications, you have to calculate the quantity of a spark. Very simple.
जी
This
सर,
is
ठीक
actually
है
now
सर।
in kg. I can say that we need 11,253.9 kgs as part. Very simple, okay? For the same court, wearing court. You can convert this into tons. Just divide this by, let's say, if I can put bracket over there and divide this by 1,000, okay? Let me just close this one over here. And this is actually 11 tons, maybe. Is it clear? And I think we have covered this in maybe in the fourth or maybe in the fifth class while doing analysis. Am I right or not? I think we have just covered these things. Okay, now next we will be just let's just determine maybe the steel work, which is just mentioned over here in terms of percentage. If you have percentage, then of course determining the steel quantity is very easy. You have to determine the steel quantity in terms of volume and then multiply that with the unit weight, so you can have that maybe the weight of steel in kgs, maybe in ton, maybe in quintal. That's your work then. This time, let's just say in the same Excel sheet, I'm gonna say number 3, and I'll say steel work. Steel work is actually in different elements, and I'm gonna say steel work, and then including binding and fixing. Very
सर,
simple.
एक और कंफ्यूजन है वो सर। सर, ये जो वेयरिंग कोट है ना,
जी,
इसकी थिकनेस सर 10 सेंटीमीटर है। मैं अगर asphalt तो मंगवाऊंगा तो मैं 10 सेंटीमीटर के बेस पे मंगवाऊंगा या 15 सेंटीमीटर पे?
this is very good point. If you remember, maybe from some previous sessions, okay, while determining, okay, let me just confirm. Have you just attended the previous class while we were determining maybe the sub base, subgrade, and then the base, and then the topping of a road? Have you taken those classes?
जी जी सर, उसमें आपने बताया था।
Okay, that time, if you remember, we had included the compaction factor.
जी सर, बिल्कुल।
Okay, that's good. But we're here in the wearing course, something it is very different because the density which I have put it, okay, we're here maybe like the density, and it was uh 2,300 and maybe 30 kg, and this is per cubic meter, okay? Now, it depends on the density actually. This density is actually the density of compacted asphalt. It means compaction is already considered in the unit weight over here. So if compaction is considered in the unit weight, then why should I include the compaction factor in the height for the wearing code? चलो, steel के okay, we will be just determining steel now, and now we have actually steels in different members. Maybe you can say in the beam, and there is steel in the slab. There is steel actually in the railing posts, and maybe we have nothing remaining over here. Okay, let me just confirm it. We have 3 types of in the beam, as you can see, in the slab, and then in the mild steel. Very simple. So we will be actually looking into the percentage. And this percentage is actually, if I consider the beams, okay, let me just say beam, there is 2.5% steel in the beam. So you have to actually take 2.5% of the beam's quantity. Okay, you can see that. Okay, just adding these two. Let me just have one raw another one over here, so we can have the total for the beam. Okay, like that. So we have to take actually 2.5% of 5.8, you can say. It means I can even remove these, I can even merge them because we are taking the percentage. Now, how do you take the percentage? That is actually 2.5%. Okay. Now, percent means actually that can be in 100. So 2.5 divided by 100, it means we can take 0. Maybe 0.25. Okay, because we have already divided it. Now, we will multiply this with the quantity of concrete and the beam. And this is actually the summation of these two. Okay, so I can just put the summation sign over there. Is it clear? You can even put brackets over there. Okay, now this is actually the volume of steel now. Now, what we do actually is we multiply the volume with the unit weight of steel. Okay, you guys should be familiar with the unit weight, which is 7,850 kg per cubic meter. Is it clear or not?
Yes, sir.
So we have the quantity which is 1157 kg. Now in the slab, now the quantity, I can even put that quantity over here, okay? And I can even just maybe you can say 58 and I'll say in kgs. Okay. Now for the slab, that is only 1%, I think. Okay, let me just confirm that. As you can see, for the slab, the mild steel, that is only 1%. What do you mean by 1%? It is actually 0.01. Okay, that's 1% only. So I can say maybe 0.01 of what? Of actually the quantity of RCC slab, which is this thing. And then, of course, we can multiply this with the density or maybe the unit weight, which is 7,850. Okay, that's gonna give me the kgs, which is 835. Okay, I'm rounding actually the things. Okay, just a
सर एक
second.
सवाल थी परसेंटेज के बारे में। बाज औक़ात हम देखते हैं कि ड्राइंग में वो मतलब शो हुआ है बार बेंडिंग ट्यूटोरियल जो पूरा डिटेल है, ये इधर आप परसेंटेज के हिसाब से बता रहे हैं। आप थोड़ा क्लियर कर दें बस। मतलब जो ड्राइंग हमने देखे हुए हैं वो लिखे हुए उधर ही, मतलब सेंटर टू सेंटर पास स्टील के और
एग्जैक्टली
ये भी
हमने,
बता सकते हैं नंबर।
जी जी, तो कल नहीं और परसों उस चीज को हमने देखा था। बीबीएस के बारे में आप बात कर रहे हो, तो वो तब होता है जब हम डिटेल में चीजों को देखते हैं ना, कि चलो एक नंबर 4 बार है, नंबर 5 है, नंबर 6 है, ठीक है, तो उनका कितना केजी या टन क्वांटल आनी चाहिए, तो उन चीजों को हम फिर डिटेल से देखते होते हैं। ये मेरे ख्याल से हमने डिस्कस किया था प्रीवियस, मेरे ख्याल से 8 या 9th क्लास में। वो अब मुझे नहीं पता कि शायद 8th क्लास था या 9th, जिसमें हमने स्लैब की एस्टिमेशन की थी। किसी को याद है?
जी सर, संडे को किया था सर।
हाँ जी। तो स्लैब एस्टिमेशन हमने किया था, जिसमें हमने मेन बार, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन बार, उन चीज़ों को डिटेल से देखा था। खैर इन चीज़ों को देख लेंगे बाद में फिर भी। लेकिन ये तो परसेंटेज में अब जो चीज़ गिवन है ना, ये तो अप्रोक्सीमेशन है। मतलब हम अप्रोक्सीमेटली अब्स्ट्रैक्ट ऑफ कॉस्ट क्रिएट करते हैं। अब मजे की बात ये है, मजे की बात क्या है, यहाँ पे बीम का परसेंटेज तो गिवन है कि 2.5 है, लेकिन हमें तो ये नहीं पता कि भाई 2.5 कौन सा स्टील बार है भाई, नंबर 3 है, नंबर 4 है, क्या चीज है ये, इसका तो कोई पता नहीं ना। तो हम मकसद तो हमारा कॉस्ट है यहाँ पे। ये तो नहीं है कि एब्स्ट्रैक्ट का मटेरियल हम देखे यहाँ पे। टॉप पे मैंने क्या लिखा है? एब्स्ट्रैक्ट ऑफ कॉस्ट लिखा है ना। ये मैं जरा रेड कर दूं। तो जब अब्स्ट्रैक्ट ऑफ कास्ट की बात हो रहा है, तो इसका मतलब है हम उन चीज़ों को पे टाइम ज़ाया नहीं करेंगे। मतलब स्टील चीज़ों को कैलकुलेट कर देना, मतलब लेंथ कितना होनी चाहिए ना मेन बार का, फिर स्टेरअप्स क्या होनी चाहिए, टाइस, कितने साइज का होनी चाहिए, उन चीज़ों पे टाइम वो फिर हम ज़ाया नहीं करते। समझ आ रही है आप लोगों को?
जी जी बिल्कुल 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 सर।
तो परसेंटेज में बस यही सीन है कि आपने बस कैलकुलेट कर देना कास्ट, हमें कास्ट चाहिए इस टाइम।
ओके सर, ओके ओके, कोई बात नहीं सर, इंशाल्लाह।
तो मैं सिर्फ वो बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट आप लोगों को समझा रहा हूँ, बाद में अगर किसी का क्वेश्चन हो तो फिर आप बेशक पूछ ले, ठीक है। रेलिंग पोस्ट के लिए फिर वही सीन है, तो हम उस फार्मूले के ड्रैग करेंगे नीचे, जो कि परसेंटेज हमारा गिवन है, ठीक है। अब परसेंटेज के अलावा सिर्फ इस चीज़ को चेंज करेंगे जो कि रेलिंग पोस्ट का ऑलरेडी वो उन्होंने उठाया हुआ है, ठीक है। तो 25 kg का ये, देखिए 25 kg बहुत कम है, लेकिन वो ये तो एक एग्जांपल है, ठीक है। So, as you can see, we have determined everything, I guess, and now we will actually look into the costs. Okay, abstract of cost, or maybe abstract of estimated cost, and these things are actually can be covered from the MRS. I'm not gonna go to MRS again because we have discussed that thing in detail, okay, in the previous sessions, sorry. So I'll just take dollar cost, maybe unit costs, and that will be actually our work. Maybe let's say, I'm gonna say we have serial number, okay? If we have serial number, and then if we have, let's say, the work, and we will consider the quantity, very simple. And then I'm gonna say the unit, and then we may have the unit, maybe the rate, let's say, okay? And this should be actually the unit rate, okay? Unit rate means per cubic meter, per meter, okay, like that. And then we will have actually the total amount. So we have this a schedule. Now, the first thing, as you can see, we have serial number 1, and we have actually the quantity. Maybe you can say the RCC work, which is actually 17. Maybe let me just confirm that it is, as you can see, 17.8 something, blah blah blah. Okay, so I will just shortly write RCC work. No details. You can put all the details when you become quantity surveyor. Okay, you have to put all those things. Maybe providing the ratios, etc. Okay, just a minute. All right, are you guys there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the RCC work and the quantity, if you see that is 17.8 something, okay? You can even round that, but let me just say 17.8 does not matter. And the unit, of course, that is just cubic meter. Very simple. Now the rate. The rate can be actually just determined or maybe look, okay, for in MRS, okay? You have to look that. I have already shared MRS with you in the group, and if I have not shared it yet, okay, I'll just share it with you, okay? Now, you have already learned about MRS. I'm not gonna go to that in detail, okay? Now, let's say if the rate for the RCC work is, maybe it can be anything in the MRS, but let me just put a value. Let's say 800 per cubic meter. Now, what should be the amount? Very simple. Just multiply the rate with what? With the quantity, of course. So this is the total amount, which is very less, of course, because we have taken the rate, very low rate, okay? It can be a huge rate in the MRS maybe. Number 2, as you can see, we have the wearing coat. The rate for this can be different. And you can even write the detail description. I'm not gonna go in with detail, you can say, okay? And as you can see, the quantity that is just 4.83. So 4.83. Now the unit, that is again cubic meter, okay? The rate can be actually different. Maybe let's say 750, and I'm gonna drag the formula a little bit below. And number 3, we have actually steel work. Maybe you can say including fixing and something stretch. Let me just write the text so we can see it. Now, what's the quantity? The quantity is actually the total of these 3. Okay, I can just sum them over here, like maybe equal, and we will actually sum all these above, like this one, okay, this one, and this one. So this is the total quantity, 2018. Now the unit, that is actually in kg, okay, you can convert this into quintals, into tons. That's your work. Now let's say if the rate for the same thing, you can find it from the MRS, okay? However, And but let's say if the rate is only, we're here, okay, I'll provide the local rate, which is maybe 150, okay, RS. The rate you can even just say RS in bracket over there, net in dollars. Now, what should be the quantity? Of course, we can drag the formula. It is just the same thing, multiplying these two. So the total amount, we can actually sum the above three, and this is the total RS. Okay, is there any question now?
कोई सवाल मवाल नहीं है, लेकिन इंशाल्लाह ट्राई करके उसके बाद इंशाल्लाह देखेंगे, हम प्रैक्टिस खत करेंगे उसके बाद इंशाल्लाह।
जी, प्रैक्टिस जरूरी है।
ये भी होता
क्वांटिटी सर्वे में ना प्रैक्टिस इसलिए जरूरी है क्योंकि ये फार्मूले वगैरह फिर बंदा भूल जाता है इन चीजों को।